to our discussion today of new funding opportunities for small businesses from the United States Department of Energy. Before we get going, I want to let you know that this presentation is sponsored by a new project, which we call the EPIC Buildings Project. It's part of a Department of Energy program called the Energy Program for Innovation Clusters. Our project was funded as of October 2021 by the United States Department of Energy, and in particular through the Office of Technology Transfer and Building Technologies offices. The project is led by the Syracuse Center of Excellence in partnership with Center Stage CEO. And the overall goal of this project, of which this presentation is a piece, is to assist small businesses in Central New York in developing and commercializing energy hardware for grid interactive and energy efficient buildings, and to address equity and health in the built environment and diversify the associated workforce. So we have a particular seminar today, which is about the upcoming opportunities for small businesses, SBIR and STTR programs, and we have a couple of experts with us that are going to introduce these programs. After their introductions, we're going to open the floor to questions from our listeners. There we go. Okay, so essentially the small business opportunity, innovation research opportunity, and the small business technology transfer opportunities are America's seed funds. There's requirement essentially by Congress that certain fractions of funding to the major research organizations such as the Department of Energy be allotted to small companies. And this year, the Department of Energy has released a large number of possible topics with some deadlines. The topics are opportunities for small businesses to compete for funding in phases 1, 2, and 3, ultimately, sometimes 3. We're going to discuss some of the topics that are particularly related to the EPIC Buildings program that's just started here. But of course, we're open to questions on any of the topics. There's quite a long list of them, and there'll be a link later if you're interested in other topics that we're not going to discuss in particular today. And I am still having some technical difficulties today. Let me see if I can get it back. Okay, good. Okay, so our first, there we are. Our first speaker today is Ed Bogucz. He's had a distinguished career at Syracuse University, first as a professor in the Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering Department, then as Dean of the College of Engineering and Computer Science. And for the last couple of decades, he first was the founding director for the Center of Excellence, of which I'm the interim director now, and has led that in the direction of building technologies, indoor air quality, and many other related fields. So Ed is going to kick off the presentation, and after a while, we'll switch to a second presenter, Bing Dong, and I'll introduce him when we get there.
Great. Thanks very much, Eric, and thanks to everyone for joining us. We have a really wonderful group of attendees reflecting the rich diversity of capabilities of companies in Central New York, and we've reviewed the list of attendees, and I want to say there's something for everyone. So whether you make cryogenic coolers or building envelopes or energy storage systems, or everybody who's registered to attend, there's a topic here that's of interest to you. Our biggest objective of this presentation is to encourage companies to consider applying for this new round of funding, which the Department of Energy has indicated its intention to release in December. So this is associated with the Department of Energy's version of SBIR and STTR programs, and as Eric said, both of these programs were established by Congress. SBIR goes back to 1982, STTR goes back to 1992. Each of the programs requires certain federal agencies to invest a specified portion of their research dollars in awards to small businesses. Each of the federal agencies does it in a different way. We're going to talk about how the Department of Energy does it. A small business typically is a business with 500 or fewer employees. There are some exceptions. In the end, the U.S. Small Business Administration certifies that a business is an eligible small business. Next. So there's a couple of slides here that come from a deck of slides from the Small Business Administration. This slide talks about differences between SBIR and STTR awards. The biggest difference you need to know is for an STTR award, there must be a so-called research institution has to be involved. Typically, a research institution is a university or some other research entity. And the idea of the award is the funding is supporting the transfer of technology from the research institution to the small business. There's some issue, the table here gives other details, but at the moment, what you need to know is for SBIR, the small business can be the only, spend all of the money. You don't need to have another partner. You can have partners. For an STTR, you must have a partner. For both awards, the small business is the applicant. Next. So this slide just shows all of the federal agencies. There are 11 different federal agencies that are required to offer SBIR awards, and there are 5 agencies that are required to offer STTR awards. The top 5 in the list, so Department of Defense, and then Health and Human Services, Department of Energy, National Science Foundation, and NASA, they offer both the SBIR and the STTR awards. All of the others on the list are SBIR only. And the other takeaway out of this is the Department of Energy is the 3rd largest federal agency in terms of making awards to small businesses. On this chart, it goes back to fiscal year 2019. It says that DOE had allocated $308 million. It's actually gone up. Right at the moment, it's around $400 million of awards that DOE will issue in this year for small businesses. Next. So the SBIR and the STTR program, again, this is a slide from the Small Business Administration, and they say for the national program, each of those awards, either SBIR or STTR, is intended to be a 3-stage process, 3-phase process. Phase 1 is typically 6 months to a year. Phase 2 is typically 2 years, and then it's meant to lead to commercialization. A key part of the whole idea of SBIR and STTR is it's meant to support research, and it's research that SBIR, in the name, it's innovation research. It's research to develop an innovation. These funds may not be used to support commercialization. So they have to be used to understand how to develop an innovation. But the ideal project would be at the end of phase 2, you have a working proof of concept prototype that demonstrates that the innovation works and is ready to be commercialized. So it's poised essentially in year 4 to be commercialized. Next. So the U.S. Department of Energy, so they have $400 million. Congress requires that they must give to small businesses. And they give it out in small chunks. So actually, this is a lot of awards. The way they administer it is they have what they call 2 releases each year for requesting proposals for phase 1 projects. And what they just announced on Monday of this week were the topics for one of their releases. So this was what they call Release 2 for the federal fiscal year 2022. Release 1, done about 6 months ago. Typically, Release 1 is for the basic sciences, and Release 2 is for the applied sciences. There's a website here. If you go to that website, that's the gateway to all of the information for the SBIR program. Next. This is from that website. It shows the 2 columns. It shows the timeline for where the second column is the one that we're talking about, and you see it says topics issued Monday, November 8th. And then the next thing that's going to happen is next week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, there will be 3 webinars. And really the reason we're doing this webinar today is to kind of get you ready and then say, take a look at the topics and see if there's a topic of interest to you. And if there's a topic of interest to you, go to the webinar next week. And then kind of we'll take you through the schedule of the other things that are going to happen. Next. So you can download the document, or we've shared it with you. You look through the document, and it's 168 pages. There's a lot of information there. Essentially, it's 35 topics. You could view this as kind of 35 separate funding announcements, but they've all been kind of bundled together. Out of those 35 topics, 6 are restricted to SBIR applications only. 1 is STTR only, and 18 of the topics are either SBIR or STTR. And there's a clever little way for DOE where if you frame your project in a certain way, you can apply for both. And you can leave it up to DOE to decide which one they want to give you. Within each topic, there are subtopics, and it's actually the subtopics that are the topics. So there's 147 subtopics. 128 of them are specific, really specific ideas. 19 of them are literally other. And I mean, that's the word that's in there. And other is basically, if you have an idea that's not like one of the ideas that we teed up for you, give it to us. We're willing to hear it. So essentially there's 19 of these that are kind of open to any idea, but then 128 are not open. They're very specific. To respond to DOE's funding solicitation, you must respond to one of their topics. And actually, you have to respond to just that topic. You can't say, oh, I have this idea, it goes to 3 topics. If you tell them it goes to 3 topics, they'll reject it. So you must pick a topic, and you got to make sure it's in that lane of just that topic. Across all of the topics, there are 2 different funding levels. One funding level is you can get up to $200,000 for a phase 1 project. The other is $250,000, and then these 2 are paired with the levels for the phase 2 projects. It's $1.1 million for a phase 2 award, or 1.6. Just interestingly, for a phase 1, you get a phase 1 project, you get the check in advance. So if you get a $200,000 phase 1 project, on day 1 of the project, you have $200,000 in your bank account, and your job is to spend it and report that spending to DOE at the end of the project, that you spent it according to your plan. Next. So the timeline, there are these webinars next week, and then on December 13th, they'll release what the Department of Energy calls a funding opportunity announcement. So there's an acronym there, FOA, and that's pronounced FOA. So the FOA is going to be released on December 13th, and that's the thing that says we're calling for proposals, but it refers back to the topics that were released on Monday. So essentially, it's like we want proposals on those topics that we released previously. On January 3rd, to be able to submit a proposal, you must, by January 3rd, submit a letter of intent to let DOE know that you're going to submit an application. So January 3rd, like, put that onto your schedule. So probably you want to submit that on like December 21st, right? Don't wait till January 3rd to submit your letter of intent. And then the full application is due February 22nd. And if you're going down this track, we'll help and support you in this process. There's some things that you need to do to qualify. You have to get registered, and there's some things that have some lead times with them. But again, first things first, look at the topics and see if there's something that interests you. Ultimately, they'll notify you on May 16th if you got it or not, and then the project will start on June 27th. And these dates are like chiseled in stone. They will make probably 200 awards out of this round. They make them all at once. This is why it's a release. So it's like they ask for all the applications, they review all the applications, they make all the selections, and then boom, 200 awards get minted all at once. They all start on June 27th. And you want to be kind of part of that group. Next. So now, across all of the 35 topics, we've kind of looked across them, and out of the people that are on this webinar, we've identified some topics that we expect will be of interest to one, at least someone who's present. And here's the list. So you can just kind of look down the titles: advanced grid technologies, advanced energy storage and power generation, power conversion systems for energy equity, community-driven solutions for a just and equitable energy transition, thermal energy storage, solar energy technologies, advanced manufacturing. Next, building technologies, innovative energy systems, carbon capture and removal, carbon management, high field superconducting magnet technology, high energy physics detectors and instrumentation. So we have in Central New York one of the world's leading manufacturers of cryogenic refrigeration equipment. So inside those two topics are calls for cryogen. We need new cryogenic coolers for specific applications relating to those topics. And we think that probably there's some things that might be interested for manufacturers of cryogenic refrigeration in Central New York. Next. So now what we're going to present to you is out of the sea of all of these 140 some subtopics, we're going to pick 4, and we're going to talk about them just a little bit. And this is just to be like illustration of here's some topics and here's some things we can talk about them. Not like pitching these topics, except for the first 2. I'm going to say we're pitching them, and Bing's going to pitch them. And then we'll talk about them, and then we'll give you some tips and suggestions, and then we'll open the floor for questions. So Bing, why don't you? How about Eric? Eric's going to introduce Bing.
Okay. All right, it's my pleasure to introduce our second panelist, Bing Dong, Dr. Bing Dong. He's a professor in our Department of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering, as is Ed, but he has long experience in building simulations and controls, HVAC, and grid integration. These are all topics of central interest to the bigger EPIC Buildings program that's basically sponsoring today's presentation. Bing was formerly on the faculty at University of Texas in San Antonio and worked for several years for the United Technologies Research Center. So I think, Bing, you're going to pick up topic 6A, and we'll walk through these 4 topics just to get the ball rolling, and then take questions after the conclusion. So that's a lot of text, but I'm going to let Bing decide what to do with it.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. So topic 6A is about adaptive, deployable, and robust power conversion system for energy storage used by disadvantaged off-grid communities. So when I look at this topic, I think it's quite aligned with my research, and the key for this topic, a few things. First of all, it has to be adaptive, deployable, robust power conversion system for energy storage. The second, it has to be in the disadvantaged off-grid communities. So basically, it gives examples. If you can read the text by yourself, give examples of tribal area, and it asks you to design 2 power conversion system. One is rating at 1.5 kW at single user, basically is a single home, or at 30 kW, which is community level. Next slide. Yeah, so some potential ideas, because it's aligned with my research, and we did some very fundamental simulation studies research before. So some potential ideas is maybe this can be designed as an energy port type of a packaged PV and storage system. So if you know, NYSERDA has a call for energy port, which is packaged HVAC system, right? This one can be a packaged PV and storage system. It has to be easy plug and play, which is deployed outside the building and in fields, which is outside the home. And the key is advanced controls of the battery and PV system, which you can have to decide, when you charge the battery based on the available of solar through the PV generations, and then also based on local climate conditions and what are the daily activities of people inside the homes. So this is a key to make sure that the package system can meet the needs of daily activities of people at homes. Yeah, so I just want to share some possible ideas for this topic. If you are interested, we can talk further. Yeah. So next slide. So next topic is topic 10B, which is advanced building controls for managing and controlling the thermal energy storage system. So basically, this topic asking to design a intelligent control for the test thermal energy storage based on and also integrate with HVAC system, co-optimize energy efficiency, user comfort, and utility bills. So this control can be based on the weather, based on the occupancy behaviors, based on the electricity price, for example, DOE prices from utility companies. Yeah, so this is a topic. So next slide. Yeah, so again, our base lab at COE has a previous very intensive research experiences. I just list out 3 papers here published by us. So we have a very strong experience in both physics-based modeling based on the heat transfer and the thermodynamics of the test, and also data-driven modeling. Data-driven modeling is based on major data to design the advanced controls for tests, energy storage, and also HVAC system. So coupled design. So this is also required by this call. You have to co-optimize the test and HVAC system. And the control design is based on the the weather conditions, the climate, the occupancy, behaviors, how the presence in buildings, and also electricity price. I mentioned about DOE price, and all the grid signals, like what is required from grid, what does the grid need in the next 24 hours. And then we have done both in the simulation level, which is the building models using the MATLAB or Python, and also we did some experience studies in actually control the actual HVAC system. The experience study actually has been done using the TIQ lab at the COE. Yeah. So again, let me know if you are interested, and we can discuss further about this topic. Yeah. Thank you, Eric. That's all I have. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bing. Let's see. Is this one that you're picking up, Ed, or?
Yeah, this is for me. So
okay.
So here's another topic. It's there's a topic 10 is thermal energy storage. So Bing talked about 10B, so this is 10C. And I'm just going to hold this up as an example of a topic where it's clear that the program manager has a very specific idea. And the program offices, so this comes from the, actually essentially originates from the Building Technology Office. And each of the offices has technology roadmaps. And they're program managers at DOE, and they work with engaging stakeholders, and they come up with a vision for the future. And essentially the vision for the future for lots of reasons, for energy efficient buildings, for grid interactive buildings. We need energy storage, so we need storage of electricity, it's also good to have storage of thermal energy. So in this topic, the program officer has a clear idea, or has a strong idea of essentially a product that would be good to bring to market. And actually the product sounds a lot like a product that was on the market from a company that was called Ice Energy, which made a product that was called the SBIR. And the SBIR was ice storage to, essentially you froze the ice at night and then used it during the daytime to reduce the air conditioning load on the vapor compression system in a rooftop unit. That company, Ice Energy, kind of tragically went out of business in 2019. And this particular topic is a call for essentially a next generation of that product. At least that's my reading of it. But again, that's the specifics of this specific topic. But lots of topics are like this. Lots of topics are proposed by the staff members in the program offices who have essentially pre-screened an idea for an innovation. It's like they understand the market, they understand the current technology, they understand, what kind of the market or what the world needs, and they understand also what like the next advance, what the next advance for an innovation is. So often these topics are, again, like pre-screened innovations, and if you've got an idea that aligns with them, you're off to the races. But also the other message here is it's important to take time to understand what the program office is thinking about. Each program office has technology roadmaps for what they think the world needs. Read the roadmaps, and then when you talk to the people at the DOE, you say, I read in your roadmap that you're looking for like this thing, and I have an idea that is aligned with your roadmap. And as long as the idea is aligned with the roadmap, I think then that kind of positions you for success. Next.
All right. Well, thanks, Ed. I think this one I'm going to pick up. So I didn't get introduced, but I worked for nearly 4 years at RPE, which is one of those Department of Energy agencies that is required to do SBIR and STTR outreach. One thing we did not build a program around was direct air capture, which is a future technology that could be exceedingly important, but as of today, it's not cost effective. So it's somewhat exciting to see that they are putting out a specific call in this area. It's something we worked on at RPE, but did not make a call ourselves specifically related to this. There are a number of companies, very early stage, typically angel investor funded, that are already working on it. So I don't know if this is linked to any of the existing companies, but the basic idea is that inexpensive technologies for directly pulling carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere or out of industrial effluents are likely to be needed. There are interesting opportunities if you have reasonably cost-effective technology. For example, carbonization. Just putting CO2 into soft drinks uses a surprisingly large amount of carbon dioxide. An oddity is oil recovery uses enormous amounts of carbon dioxide, all of which could be pulled out of the atmosphere, probably cost effectively, and used for those entry-level applications. So we don't know the detail. I do not know the details of who is offering this or why it's being offered, but the potential here is enormous. The market, if it ever gets cheap enough to really be attractive, is just unbelievably large, billions and billions of dollars, as a way of essentially getting around the difficulties of restricting emissions. You allow emissions, but you pull it back out of the atmosphere. So my personal belief is we have to have this on top of everything else we're trying to do, but it's difficult enough to reach. However, there are several impressive efforts already underway, and this is an opportunity for a business that has some clever ideas for how to do it somewhat less expensively than is currently done, or with a novel technology that needs to be checked out better. So I find it exciting that it's being offered, but I'd be happy to talk to anyone who has a specific technology in mind. I'm only somewhat familiar with the existing ones and somewhat out of date now. It was a few years ago I left RPE. So please do reach out to me, to Bing or to Ed if you have specific ideas and just want to talk to us about them. The wisest thing, if you're interested in any of these, would be to attend those webinars. I don't think Ed and Bing and I can go to all 22 of them. So please do attend the webinar. And I think Ed already mentioned, or will soon mention, the importance of actually connecting with the program directors whose names and emails are given. It's unusual that you're allowed to talk to a program director before a program is actually, the money is actually given away. So that's really a precious opportunity to have something so specific. Once the true FOA is released, I believe that everybody has to go through a silent period. So you really only have a limited amount of time to connect with the program directors to find out if an idea that you're keen on might interest them. So let's see, the tips and suggestions. So I just gave the first one. Let me turn it back to Ed, who actually has more experience seeking this money than I do. I had some experience giving it away.
So I have to, in full disclosure, I am supported in part right now on a phase 2 award that was successful to local company Upstate Parts and Supply, which was an STTR award. It was made 2 years ago in the round of funding that was known as fiscal 19, phase 1, release 1, and we were successful in our phase 2 award. And actually, to get to a point that Eric just said, it was very helpful to us to have a conversation with the program officer who put the topic out. And actually, just to clarify one thing that Eric said, it is kind of very surprising. You can talk to the program officer even after the FOA is out. So the whole time up until the time that you submit the application, it's really the conversation. And again, we can kind of coach everybody on this when the time comes. The conversation needs to be really to clarify the call and to say, I have an idea that's kind of like this, and is that what you're looking for? So there needs, he's not going to give like a specific, the person won't be able to give like really dive into what you're proposing. So, but just the suggestions. So we lost the side with the tips. Here we go. So again, I've already said, look at the program. We've said several times, go to the webinars next week. Look at the program office, look at their technology roadmaps. Another thing is like envision success. It's like, what would it, frame your project, frame your thinking of phase 1 project, phase 2 project. At the end of the phase 2 project, what's that tangible proof of concept prototype that you're going to produce that's ready to be commercialized? You want to demonstrate that when it works, now you're ready to take it to market, and that that's in year 4. At the end of year 4, you're selling it and you're making money. So that's like the grand plan, and then work backwards to what has to happen in the phase 1 project. Phase 1 is really meant to be like a feasibility stage. Like you evaluate your idea and you find it to be feasible. In the particular project that I'm currently involved in, our phase 1 project was about computational modeling of an idea, and in our computational models it looked very promising, and that was the basis for our phase 2 application, which said now we're going to build it. So we need $1 million, give us the money and we're going to build it, and we're in the midst of that project. The awards must go to a small company, but as you're envisioning success might be when we develop this new innovation, we're going to sell it to a large company and they're going to put it in their existing products. it's very valuable to your application in phase one if you have a letter from a large company saying, this is a good idea. If this is successful, we're interested. So, like having that letter from the large company in your application for a phase 2 award is a powerful thing. So on this point, we offer engage SyracuseCoE and Center State CEO for feedback on your idea and introduction to potential partners. Maybe we can help introduce you to large companies that can provide those letters. So to arrange a confidential discussion between you or your principals and a team from either SyracuseCoE or Center State CEO, you can contact SyracuseCoE through Tammy Rosanio on the email there. Next. And then contact your DO, the staff member who's listed. You only get one shot at this. So I'd say, like, do your homework, get your idea, and then as you're developing your proposal, I think, you want to reach out and kind of, you can pitch your idea and get feedback, and that will help you finalize your proposal. And then there are some additional resources. There are national resources that DOE makes available to help applicants all across the country. They call it DOE Phase 0. And actually, anybody can go to DOE Phase 0, and there's the website, and they'll help you. Actually, there's lots of parts to the application. We can also help you at SyracuseCoE, but again, there are these resources. One of the parts is, you have to write the narrative of what it is you're going to do. And then you have to write a 4-page commercialization plan. It actually says that, you're thinking ahead to what it looks like in year 4 when you're successful. Here's our plan. For your phase 2 application, you need a 20-page commercialization plan. But the DOE Phase 0 can help you with the commercialization plan. And also, Cornell University is a Center for Regional Economic Advancement, and they have, actually with funding from New York State, an SBIR STTR assistance program for companies in New York State that are submitting SBIR and STTR awards. Again, now that one is for all SBIR STTR programs, DOD or NSF or NASA, DOE or whatever. But again, it's another resource, and it's available to companies in New York State. And with that, I don't know if there's another slide here at the end or if this is the last slide, but I think now we're open for questions. Oh, here we go. So also there's, we started with, I'll hand back to Eric so you could give the call to action.
All right. So I wanted to remind people that this seminar is related to our new project from the Department of Energy, which we've dubbed EPIC Buildings. I'm intending to build better buildings. The EPIC program is really intended to facilitate the development of products and of business itself for smaller businesses. If you're interested in the sound of it, we've already got a very preliminary website posted. We offer a panoply of services. We're collaborating with the Clean Tech Center, the Center State CEO's section called the Clean Tech Center, which also receives NYSERDA money, so there's a chance to get some funding related. It isn't necessarily a direct transfer of cash from the Clean Tech Center, and services that we offer through SyracuseCoE. Anyway, those are both opportunities. If you're interested in this is restricted basically to energy hardware for buildings with a special interest in grid interactivity. And there will be a seminar towards the end of the month given by Bing Dong, who's on today, of course, and David Lovelady from National Grid about grid interactivity. This is a high priority thrust area for the Building Technologies Office at the Department of Energy. So if you're interested in that, you'll get an invitation, no doubt, in the mail, but the registration link will also be posted with these slides. The seminar itself is in a little bit more than 2 weeks, and Bing and David will be trying to describe, first of all, what grid interactivity is all about, and second of all, some of the opportunities that you can expect in this area. So please do connect with us if energy hardware for buildings is something that interests you. Of course, we're always happy to talk to small companies with our Center of Excellence hats on, but this particular project has additional resources that can be brought to bear, and we're pretty keen on it. It's close to what the Center of Excellence has been interested in for many years. So I think at this point, we've drawn the close here. I'm inviting you to submit questions. There's a message in your chat box that says how to do that. And I'm going to wait for a collection of a few questions, and let's see what we've got. If anyone has got questions. If not, then we'll call a close in just a few minutes.
So about while we're waiting for questions, a thought occurs that when you get a phase 1 award, only phase 1 applicants, only phase 1 awardees are eligible to apply for phase 2. And I'm going to call it the conversion or the success rate. So the success rate of applicants from phase 1 moving on to phase 2 is greater than 50%. So, you know, really the thing that should lead you to apply for phase 1 is the prospect of getting phase 2. And really, when you write the phase 1 application, you want to envision and you want to describe that you've got an idea that is, you know what you're going to do with $1.1 or $1.6 million of funding in phase 2, and the phase 1 award is to demonstrate the feasibility of that idea. So again, if you get the phase 1 award, it's really a great opportunity. And then from a small company perspective, the phase 1 award from DOE comes as a lump sum payment up front, and then the phase 2 award is cost reimbursable. So you get to invoice DOE periodically. I actually think you could do it even monthly, and essentially as you spend, you get reimbursed.
Yeah, no, it's an attractive opportunity, absolutely, and yes, the SBIR STTR programs vary quite a lot, you know, in details. So this is the particular one we're talking about today is a major one, and I encourage anyone with the related interest to go ahead and investigate further. But at RPE, we used focused calls. My particular program is related to single pane windows and trying to improve their efficiency, and that was one of the ones RPE selected as having likely small business interest, and we funded fairly generously 3 or 4 small businesses as part of a focus program. In this case, looking for improvements to single pane windows. Okay, I have now a couple of inquiries. One is just about posting the slides. We intend to post the slides. There will be both a webinar link, which will have the voiceover that you're listening to, as well as possibly just the plain slides without the voiceover. That'll have the links in case you're not able to pick them up today. And also, is there help available with the writing of applications? And the short answer is some possibilities exist there, especially if you're in the EPIC area of interest, which is essentially energy hardware for buildings. There's also a strong emphasis in the program on equity, addressing disadvantaged communities. That was one of the specific calls for the SBIR as well. It was related to that. So those are going to have probably some preference. An excellent idea that engages disadvantaged communities is likely to have a good shot at some of these things. Okay, so if you're in the EPIC area, please contact us and we'll see what we can do with you. And more broadly, yes, but the resources may not be as readily available to us. Let's see, when a company receives an award, what is the commitment for the company to DOE? Let me ask Ed to reply to that one.
So the main commitment is you're going to do what you said. You're going to write a proposal and you're going to describe a scope of work, and so you're meant to deliver on that. So interestingly, success for DOE and success for actually probably any SBIR, STTR is that the small business is successful, and that this is an investment of federal funds. Again, it's America's seed fund, and like the wildest success that they could imagine is you come up with something and you commercialize it and you make a lot of money and it's yours. There's because it's federal funds, ultimately the reports that you write will become public information in 20 years. So the data that you write in your reports is protected for 20 years. And, you know, hopefully in that time, that's enough time for you to like capitalize on the investment. But there's, you know, I'd say the question was framed, it's like, what's the commitment of the company to DOE? You know, I'd flip it around. What's DOE's commitment to you? It's like their commitment is to give you the funding, and actually you will develop a relationship with program staff at DOE, and you know, ideally they have connections and they can introduce you to potential customers or potential suppliers, or you know, I think it kind of goes both ways. But again, the question was, when a company receives an award, what's the commitment of the company to DOE? You know, really, it comes down to like, do the work that you proposed and do it well and be successful. You know, that's it. So I don't, you know,
what DOE wants, you know, from these things is products out in the field that they can claim as having helped sponsor. They're not looking to enter these businesses themselves or to claim credit for your research. They just want to be able to claim credit for having sponsored it at a critical stage. And that's part of every agency's reporting.
So just to build on this a little bit, again, going back to my earlier comments about, you know, these topics come from experienced, smart staff people who are working at DOE, and this is their careers, and they want, you know, they want the country to achieve its clean energy goals, and they have ideas about how to do that. So that topic that I talked about thermal energy storage, you know, so here's someone that said, you know, the world needs thermal storage, and actually it says it in there. It should be like, it should be at this price, and it should weigh this much, and it should sit next to an existing unit, and this is how it should work. And if somebody does that and comes up with the idea and takes it to market, then essentially the satisfaction of DOE is say, look, you know, like, we had our technology roadmap, this was on our roadmap, we put out a topic, a small company responded to it, we funded that award, it helped the company develop the product, the company took it to market, the company made money, and the world was a better place because that product exists, and it exists because we started it by putting out this topic. So that's how it works.
Right.
Here's a good one for Eric.
How does a company, oh yes, well, it's something we were working on this week. How does a company access university-based IP to look for synergies? Well, the first thing you have to find out is if there's anything that exists. So if you have connections with any of us who are working or interested in your field, a conversation is usually pretty easy to arrange just to explore mutual interest. Many faculty are interested in the possibilities of engaging with companies, either as future placements for their students, as possible consulting income, occasionally for direct interactions like the STTR. So there's a lot of faculty, especially in the School of Engineering, in the sort of hardware side, and of course the biosciences involves a lot of departments, both in engineering, arts and sciences, and other schools as well. So you will likely to find a good welcome. The Center of Excellence views, I think, one of its roles as helping you find if there is anyone good to talk to. So please contact us if there's a specific area where you're just looking, to discuss it. Specific IP that's already been patented is already posted by the university on its technology transfer webpage. So you can scout there, just to look for something, but it's not curated. It's everything that's ever been published as a patent, essentially, is what's there. That's all late stage. And the conversation we had this week related to EPIC, the EPIC Buildings Project, is how can we get university invention disclosures, an indication of what's been done before a patent's actually been published. And so that saves a year or more in the process. So we're looking into having a website associated with the EPIC program that would list technologies, not in any detail. For that, you'd probably have to agree to a non-disclosure agreement, but just an indication of where something has been invented, and an invitation, to start a discussion to see if there could be mutual interest. So I don't know if that's a response to whoever asked the question, but it is something we're keen on for this particular new program, and we hope to sort of speed up the university's game in connecting companies with the technologies and inventions that are being cooked up at the university. It also works the other way. We want to engage our students with, I'll call it real life, when they enter companies, sort of an advanced experience. So it works. It also works for the second half of our job, which is teaching and workforce development. Anyway, so I personally put a lot of importance in this. I know Ed and Bing do. So please do contact us if you think there's a chance of a connection.
So I'm just going to say, Bing just got a patent in this area. So this is like the most recent, freshest IP. And I don't know, we're going to tag Bing to say what you're.
Yeah, so the patent is issued, actually will be issued today, November 12th, by US TPO. The patent title is System and Method for Buildings to Grid Integration. Yeah.
So congratulations to Bing.
Yeah.
At the top of the list.
Yes, I think he gets the award for the first patent that has actually been issued since the EPIC program started in our area of interest. So I'm not sure if that comes with even a cup of coffee, but we appreciate it. Okay, I'm not seeing a lot more questions, so I think we should probably call a close to it. I want to thank, first of all, our panelists, Ed and Bing, and then all of you for joining us, and we hope to hear from you in future, either within the EPIC Buildings, the new EPIC Buildings program, or just generally as part of the university and the Center of Excellence's interest in reaching out to the local business community. So have a good day, stay well, and we're going to cut off now.